the best Bionicle MOCs of 2024. Let's count them down and be wowed by these incredible creations made by some of the best Bionicle builders in the Bionicle community. Now, before we start, this list is my own opinion, with some input from members of the community as well. You might disagree with a few of these choices. You might have other MOCs that you think would be perfect on this list. And that's okay. Everyone's gonna like different things. Nothing wrong with that. I'd love to hear your own personal thoughts on what your favourite MOCs of this year were. Let me know in the comments below. But for now, let's get started. Beginning with number 10, moving our way down to number 1. In this spot, we begin with a creation called Yoxron by Lemonette. What I love so much about this MOC is how classic it feels. Pretty much every piece that's being used here, it's fairly old, a lot of G1 era pieces. Stuff from roughly the mid-2000s. And these days, a lot of MOCs rely on heavily using CCBS pieces, or things like system bricks, or I don't know, just other modern pieces. Nothing wrong with that, of course, but it's just so refreshing to see a MOC that feels fresh out of 2006. And the techniques that are used here, they feel incredibly modern. It's not every day that you see a MOC that feels so old, but also so new at the same time. It's a beautiful balance. Just look at the amazing shaping that's on this creation. The fluid transition between pieces, the incredibly consistent textures. People can pull that off fairly easily with your modern CCBS parts, but that's not easy to do with older G1 pieces. I mean, look at stuff like this. The torso design, it uses the foot piece that comes on Nuparu and Nika. We've got one of those in the center of the chest. And then on either side, we can see Nuparu Mari's shoulder armor. Look at how well these pieces flow into each other. Even the crotch area, using two of Mantax's shoulder armor pieces, and then pairing that alongside this Borok Kull windscreen piece. The shaping is on point. Well done. Moving on over to number 9. This one I was lucky enough to see in person at Brick Fair, Virginia earlier this year. This is Xeno Lobster Queen, built by Lego Joey. Yeah, this concept is hilarious. Combining a lobster and a xenomorph from Alien. This gets points for just being a brilliant idea. But also look at these building techniques. All of the aspects of a xenomorph have been perfectly captured. All of the aspects of a lobster have been illustrated very well. And they just blend together into one big old beautiful creation. This is lovely stuff. I quite like how they've built the teeth, using some of these white hero cores that appeared on pretty much every late Hero Factory set. It's a clever design. And then the tail, just stringing together a bunch of these small red bone pieces. The same ones that you see on Jawblade's arms. That's so simple, but it's so good. The segmented design, it's very similar to the tail that you see on an actual xenomorph. It also kind of looks like the tail that you see on a lobster. This is literally the perfect way to build this. And also the lemon in this image. That is indeed Lego. I can't even fully wrap my head around how that's been built, but it's so accurate. The number 8 spot goes to a pretty top bloke. This is Mitch Builds and his amazing dragon creation. There's some delightful storytelling in this MOC. It's a simple story, but it's a good one. The dragon has scooped up some livestock and a few other goodies for it to eat. And, now it's flying off with its food in hand, heading back to its nest so it can eat. I really appreciate that little hint of storytelling. Because when you think about it, this dragon would have still looked exceptional if it was just the dragon. But adding in some little context, a little bit of world building, a little bit of storytelling, it just brings this to life. I quite like this thigh design. See how it's used the headpiece that comes on Kilarak, the green Visorak? If you're not familiar with the set, it's this one here. That kind of head body piece, that's what's being used on the thigh. That's a super clever part use. The shape of it is perfect for limbs. And this MOC has all sorts of great techniques. I love how the tail spams a bunch of dark green CCBS armor shells. Very nice. The shaping on the body is exquisite, and the detail on the head, hot dang. Good presence, good storytelling, and great techniques. That's what I like to see in a mock, and this has it all. I could go into this in a little bit more detail, but hey, why don't you just check out Mitch Build's channel and see his breakdown on this mock. It's a good video, like all of his videos, and it explains a lot of the good stuff that's going on here. Check it out. Over to number 7, and in this spot we have the amazing VB and his mock, UFO 97. VB is a master of creating really organic and realistic designs. For example, all of the guts and organs on this mock. See how he's using pieces like these yellow macaroni pieces. These are the same ones that came in the very recent retro roller skate set. They were used to make the shoelaces on this one. But in this context, I think they look pretty clever. Even things like the armor plating on the arms, the obscure alien body shape of this character. It's so out there, so different. VB is a master of building unusual, strange, and wacky characters. Which is cool on its own, but when it's also complemented with clever part usage and nice building techniques, it's a work of art. The number 6 spot, it goes to something very special. This is Anoa, Uniter of Earth, built by Gord Builds. Now, Anoa by himself, he looks exceptional. I'm a big fan of the flames coming out of his arms. It's like he has 2 volcanoes for arms. I get the sense that the fire kind of helps power him up. It strengthens his attacks, it maybe helps him when he's mining. Plus too, the texture on the arms, it really reminds me of basalt, obsidian, or other kinds of solidified lava. So clever. It's a very fun way to tie this into his elemental powers. Now, of course, this is based off of the Toa of Earth Anoa in his Uniter form, this set right here. And of course, you could combine this set with the Creature of Earth, this little guy. And doing so, you created a version of Anoa that had a lot more armor. And Gord Builds, of course, he has built a bigger and better version of the Creature of Earth. And this one, it kinda looks like it's sentient mining equipment. Some sort of drilling machine that's come to life. Pretty cool. But then you better believe that these two can combine together. And now Anoa rests inside a massive exosuit. I love that Anoa's big arms and big hands, they complement the massive legs on this mock. The two of them just fit together like little puzzle pieces. It's a perfect harmony. They look so good in their Unity form. It's not an easy thing to do to combine 2 mocks like this. It's so impressive to see 2 separate creations fusing together in such a flawless and beautiful way. Amazing work. Halfway there now, this is the number 5 spot. And this one goes to a true gem of a human being. This is Brandon Builds and his version of Ataka. Brandon is an expert at building all kinds of phenomenal details into his mocks. I mean, just look at this. So many wires running throughout the body. Little highlights of blue, yellow, and red. All of these pistons, gears, pipes, tubes. It all looks so lovely. All kinds of good, juicy mechanical details. I always think that looks exceptional on a Bionicle. To me, that's kind of like the essence of Bionicle in itself. Those nitty-gritty mechanical robotic details. It looks so good. Plus too, I think this was the perfect way of conveying the character's age and their legendary status within the Bionicle story. Even things like these stickers on the torso. These are custom stickers, but they look good. Oh, and you better believe the chest and the eyes, they have lights, they glow. This mock is so clean and so well crafted. It's amazing. I've actually got a whole separate video talking about this mock in heaps of detail, so if you want to see more, go and check that out. Over to the number 4 spot, this is a mock that really nails it with detail. This is Bruiser by Loaf Builds. First off, I love the silhouette and the overall design of this red dude. But I want to break down some of the part usage here because Ari is the king of good part use. He won the Iron Builder competition recently. Of course, he's good at playing with unique pieces. Check out the middle section of the legs. They use Furno 1.0's leg armor. The energy of this piece, the way it just sort of sharply flares upwards, it creates a very pronounced knee. It's dope. Then the middle of the leg, it's using the eye stalk from the Vaki. The way that that perfectly ties into the shape and the textures of Furno's leg armor. The way that this beautifully frames the rest of the leg. It's a really important structural element. That's amazing. And then the sort of tip of the boot. This is using some Praetorian Guard armor from this lovely Star Wars set. Oh, it's magical. And then there's like gold wires running through this as well. This is masterfully built. But my favorite detail has to be these red kind of springs that you can see on the arm. What a beautiful aesthetic. It could be some type of weapon or, just some of the mechanical details built into his arm. But what is this piece? Well, it's a shock absorber piece. This is a relatively new part. You can get it in some fairly modern LEGO Technic sets. They're often very heavily integrated into the design, so you can't really see it in this image, but you do get it in the set. Dang, that's such an incredible way to use that piece. This mock is brilliant. Ooh, time for number 3. Who's it gonna be? Well, this one, it goes to the very talented J6 Crash, and this is his mock, Barbarous. Again, very impressive storytelling and some incredible shaping. See the thigh design here? It's mainly using the torso armor piece that comes on the set Stormer XL. 4 of these pieces, they make for some exceptional thigh designs. And something else that's cool, the rough shape of this thigh design. When we look at the rest of the limbs, they all mimic the same kind of shape that the thighs have. It's a very rounded and sculpted look. That muscular look makes the character seem very powerful, and it plays into the story of this character and this mock. A story of them very barbarically eating this poor dude. Even things like changing the hands to be dark red, that's a very effective use of colour, and the very wild and feral looking grey fur, that also feeds into the storytelling. It's truly amazing how the building techniques here, they kind of expertly aid in conveying a story, as well as a personality for the character. When we deep dive into the techniques of how this is built, we really do get an understanding of who this character is. That's true craftsmanship right there. We're looking at a master builder at work. Number 2 now. In the second last spot, we have the amazing Eero Okon and his very colourful and well-crafted dinosaur. Look at these colours. Look at the repetition of all these pieces to create realistic fur and feathers. This just blows my mind. If you're not familiar with this dinosaur, don't worry, I wasn't familiar with it either. Here's a look at the original one. Eero nailed the sort of hunched back, the look of the fur, the shape of the body. Good job. Now let's quickly go over some of the details on this beautiful creature, because this thing is packed with clever part usage. The tongue uses this piece from an old collectible minifigure lifeguard. Good idea. The shape of it is perfect for a tongue. Now this eye design. Let's break it down. The actual pupil appears to be this piece in bright yellow. It's a stud with a little bar on the edge. And the inside of that bar is actually hollow. So it makes for a pretty good pupil. This is the same technique that we saw on the Majestic Tiger Lego set. Under this, we have Jay's blue ninja mask from a minifigure like this one. Although actually technically there's a red stud sandwiching that in. So there's one piece that I forgot to show here, but it's a hollow stud. It's a fairly common piece. And then at the very back, to kind of cap things off, we have a 2x2 round jumper in red. What an elegant design. This eye looks so lifelike. Everything about this mock is beautiful. Okay, now to the number 1 spot. In my opinion, this is the best mock of 2024. Who is it? Who built it? Well, it's Akimu and Makuta by Tony A. What grabs me about this mock is Tony's inspiration for both characters. Akimu is taking inspiration from HR Giga, as well as some characters from the video game Dark Souls. While Makuta, they're based on a very kind of classic demon, and they're also kind of loosely based on some old Victorian designs. You know, like the ruff around his neck, that sort of stuff. It's taking inspiration from those sorts of things. Now, all of this inspiration, it has qualities of regality. It feels fancy, it feels big. There's an essence of power. It feels ancient. They feel mighty, almost godlike, if you will. And Akimu and Makuta? They're basically kings and gods of the Bionicle universe. It's awesome that the inspiration behind these MOCs, it carries the same weight that these characters do. Now, sure, it's one thing to take inspiration from some cool stuff, but to then actually translate that into a MOC? That's not easy to do, but Tony, he did it very well. The crazy pipe work on Akimu, which is certainly some of that Giga inspiration. The almost tribal look of the loincloth. The trans blue flowing throughout the body. It looks like he's a living furnace. And, you know, hey, Akimu is a mask maker. That's perfect. He can use his own body to make masks. Cool idea that fits the character very well. And then Makuta, looking like a fallen angel. Looking so demonic, devilish, and fanciful. That's breathtaking, and a very distinct, unique take on Makuta. I mean, look at the use of whips, tassels, rings, all that kind of stuff in gold. The detail is truly exquisite. The overt embellishment of all these beautiful gold highlights. It feels like the kind of thing that you would see on a very sort of evil ruler, like Makuta. This is one of the coolest pairings of two builds that I've ever seen. Yeah, this mythical and almost religious dark horror vibe that these creations have. That's something I don't think I've ever seen before on a Bionicle MOC. It's really amazing. Well done, Tony. I really love these two creations. And you know, well done to everyone on this list. Your work inspires me, and I love what you do. So, did you enjoy this top 10 list of the best MOCs of 2024? Well, if you did, I have another one coming out very soon, and that one's going to focus on the best system character and creature builds of 2024. This one was focusing on very Bionicle-focused MOCs. So if you had fun, another one's coming. But that's all for today, guys. Thank you for watching, happy building, and bye for now.